People told me that as a 19-year-old kid, I'm not going to be selling these $1 million homes that I wanted to be selling, but I proved them wrong. So your mind is your biggest limiting factor. If someone says they can and someone says they can't, they're both right. I just chose to say that I could, and I stayed persistent until I found that success.
Oh, I love it. You're literally speaking my coaching language. Welcome to the Success Blueprint Podcast, where we dive deep into the world of entrepreneurship and success. Join us in uncovering the stories behind the triumphs, challenges, and invaluable lessons learned by today's most inspiring entrepreneurs. Welcome, everyone. I'm so excited for you to be joining us today. I have the pleasure of getting to interview Jake Jordan, who I've actually known for quite a long time. I met him first when he was at the beginning of his real estate agent journey, and it was way, way back. It was in Gary and Gina's office. I remember walking in and seeing this guy who was very young at the time, looking at him and thinking, wow, that's really awesome. He is already going into his own entrepreneurial journey, and he's young and he already gets it. So I was really impressed with you back then. And then watching your career grow and unfold in front of me and staying up to date with you, I couldn't be more excited and proud for everything that you have accomplished, because it's been really awesome to get to see you do it all. So thank you so much for joining us. For all of the listeners who don't yet know you, I would love to start off by you telling us a little bit about yourself, your background, and really what excites you about working in real estate. So Jake, please take it away.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here and share a bit of my story. So I have a pretty interesting backstory. As you mentioned, I got into real estate at a very young age. I was actually a town worker initially. I started at the town when I was in high school, and throughout high school, I really wanted to be a mechanic. When I was leaving high school, the town was my stepping stone to either become a mechanic at the township or start my own business. I wasn't sure where I wanted to go with that. So in grade 11 and grade 12, I took the opportunity to explore co-op and get my foot in the door with the career I wanted to be in outside of high school earlier on, so I could fast forward my success. So I started my co-op at a mechanic shop in town here, and I realized within the first couple months that it's a great passion, but it's not what I wanted to do every day for the rest of my life working on cars. It's still my passion, but it's more of a hobby versus my career. So I transitioned. I took some time and I reflected on what I wanted to do, who I wanted to be, what I wanted to do. And I actually had some family members back in the 80s and 90s that had great success in real estate. So reflecting on their success and just seeing the lives they lived and the opportunities that they had, that's something I wanted to chase. So when I was 18, I signed up to my real estate license. I started getting my license fresh out of high school, working at the town. So it took me a little bit longer. I ended up getting my license when I was I was 19 and about a half. And so I started my career. I hit the ground running. I started just getting out, meeting people. As a 19-year-old kid, I was driving my dad's van, this big white work van to showings. And the biggest thing that I was laugh about and that I'm proud of reflecting on back then is that I outworked everyone else. I feel like that I showed up and I showed value to my clients, and that's how I initially started to snowball my success. The excitement side, what still excites me to this day is to wake up, do something different, and learn every single day. I like to learn and grow, and I find big personal fulfillment in that, especially with helping others. I like helping others learn and grow as well. So this is a career where I can wake up and consistently do that every single day and make my income doing something I love. So that's what excites me about the business and a little bit about me.
I know. And that's what was so striking and cool about you, is because you were so young. Most people who are 18, 19 years old, you're getting ready to go to university, you're partying, you're not really focusing in on, I'm building my career right now. And you jumped into it. So I think that's pretty phenomenal. Now, you had a lot of career behind you now. You've been in it for a number of years. So I want to know, what type of valuable insights do you think that our audience is going to gain from you today about listening to your real estate journey?
My insights are full of a lot of ups and downs. Just like any entrepreneur, I've had a long road to my success where I've had to fight uphill. I've had to stand up after getting knocked down multiple times to find my success. So, one thing you're going to learn from me and that I'm going to keep coming back to is persistence. I'm a person that I do things all the way. I don't do things halfway. I'm either all the way in or not at all. Um, I like to be persistent. I, if it's something I want to accomplish, like I knew I was going to find success in this business, so I stuck with that mindset. And whatever, no matter what anyone told me, people told me that I'm not going to find success driving my dad's van to showings. People told me that as a 19-year-old kid, I'm not going to be selling these $1 million homes that I wanted to be selling, but I proved them wrong. So I stayed persistent through every aspect of my career. And up until this day, persistence is one thing that I value very heavily. Um, One thing I always like to remember is that every no is closer to a yes, and that your mind is your biggest limiting factor. So if someone says they can and someone says they can't, they're both right. I just chose to say that I could, and I stayed persistent until I found that success.
Oh, I love it. You're literally speaking my coaching language. Now, because you've had so much career with you and you've been so persistent, I'm wondering if you could walk us through some of those key moments that really helped shape your career, like challenges that you faced and the triumphs that you experienced.
Oof, yeah, I mean, like I said, my first few years, they were very touch and go, just like anyone else's. When you're building a great business, you have to build a good foundation. So it took me a while to learn those skills and build the mindset and just really learn what I needed to learn to go down that journey and find my success. Yes, I did have some success earlier on in my career, but there was quite a few years where I had well below what I could have been making at Tim Hortons or McDonald's for income. I had a lot of ups and downs, and staying persistent throughout those years are what has led me to my success. Those were teaching years that have now taught me the skills that I need to find my success. Like I said, I came into this industry fresh out of high school.
Mhm.
I am an introvert by nature. I did not come from a sales background. So there was a lot of learning I had to do over the first few years. Um, there was a key moment in my career early on that I had four deals, three conditional, one firm, and they all fell apart one day before noon. It was a rough day, and that was
Oh,
early on in my career where those four deals. I mean, even now, four deals is it's a lot of business. Those were four
yeah,
sales and buys. They weren't leases. Um, that was a
that's
lot
an
to. That was
entire
a hard day.
environment. Yeah.
Yeah, and it really taught me that it's important to focus on helping people over the end outcome. You have to have unwavering faith that what you put out into the universe is going to come back to you, right? So now I focus on helping people rather than fixating on the outcome of a deal. And I find that little change, it has allowed my production to skyrocket.
That's amazing. Yeah, because I was just about to say, like, that's an entire year worth of salary for some people. So,
It is.
and that would be a huge aha moment. And I'm very proud of you for being able to reframe and change the way that you were thinking about it, and also that worked to bring you in more business, because that is true. When you reframe and think about it in a different standpoint, it does actually foster more of a gratitude position, and then more comes to you generally when you're like that. So I want to ask you, you talked about success, how you achieved it when you were quite young and at the onset of your career, and then you had like the four deals fall apart in the one singular day. You've had your ups and downs. So we all have an idea of what success is to each and every one of us. Some people it's monetary, some people it's time related, some people it's feeling related. How do you define success? And also, how has it changed since you began your career in real estate?
Good question. That's a really good question. For me, when I think of success, the first thing that comes to mind is to be able to wake up and do what you want to do. You can schedule your day how you want. You're able to say
Mhm.
no to things you don't necessarily want to do and hand them off to other people. Success is being able to take time off without a guilty feeling and being able to live the life I wanted to live. Reflecting earlier in my career, success to me was really tied to a GCI number. So
Yeah.
GCI to me, it's an interesting one. A lot of agents to this day, GCI is the biggest thing they care about. That's their total income, their gross commission income. And I've
Mhm.
come to learn that no matter how big you are, it really means nothing. I mean, sure, bragging about a big GCI number looks cool in marketing and it looks flashy, but your net income, that's what really matters. Over the years, I've
Yeah.
learned to shift my definition of success from an income goal to a lifestyle, and I've noticed an immediate change in my happiness and fulfillment since then. And the big thing again to contrast, GCI is great, but that's not what you take home and that's not what affects your life. Your net income is what affects your life, and that's where you find your happiness. But regardless, shift your focus from income to a lifestyle, in my opinion, and that's where you'll find true happiness and fulfillment.
Yeah, you actually reminded me, you saying that alone, just like success being lifestyle related. I have lots of coaching clients that come in. I have clients that are struggling to make $25,000 a year, and then I have clients that are literally bringing in 800K a year. And the whole spectrum of it, and something that has always really resonated is, for a lot of people, the actual financial income number, if it doesn't equate to a good lifestyle that they also want to live, it doesn't mean anything. Because ultimately, in the end, you have all of this money, but if you are working yourself tirelessly, if you are burnt out and stressed out, you can't even enjoy the money. So I love that you are defining your success based on the lifestyle that you are living. That's wonderful, I think.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I do think it's still important to set those goals. You set
Mhm.
those big goals that you're going to chase throughout the year, but you can't define your success on an income number. Sure, I set my goals and then build my business planning to figure out how many deals I need to do and what I need to do to achieve the goals that I'm looking to achieve, but I don't tie my happiness and success to the result of that number.
I love that. And speaking of
Yes.
goals, milestones, and all of those types of benchmarkers, how do you celebrate when you reach something? Like, for example, the amount of deals that you might have done in the year, or a new training session that you've taken, or selling a house that was difficult to sell, or helping a client that was struggling to buy. How do you celebrate when you've reached the goal or the milestone or done what you set out to do?
That's an interesting one for me. That's something I need to work on more. I mean, I'm one that I'm happy to admit when I'm wrong and happy to admit when I need to work on something.
Yeah.
I have an internal thing where I don't take a step back and celebrate my milestones. Um, I I just really don't. I have one thing that I like to do, and it's a little thing. I mean, I'm a pretty simple guy, and I'm happy with this. For me, I like to just go out for a nice dinner with my other half. We go out for dinner, makes her happy, makes myself happy, and we just have a nice dinner to celebrate when I close a good deal or when I hit a certain goal. Those are what we use as milestones to celebrate, just something little. I don't like to do
Aw.
anything big.
I love that because I've actually, hopefully it's the pictures that I'm thinking of. I've seen some of the pictures of you and your half and out there
Yeah.
celebrating and thinking. And that's so wonderful. I love that. It's really nice when your celebration includes the people that are important to you. I think that it's really quite lovely. Like, yes, it's great to go out and, do self-care as a celebration or buy yourself something as a celebration. Those are great. But it's also really nice when you get to share with your spouse, because one of the things that I have definitely recognized when working with clients is being aligned internally and having a good personal life absolutely reflects and has a big hand in your professional life as well, and the goals that you continue to achieve. So I like that you do that too. That's wonderful.
Thank you. Yeah, well, for me, we're a team, right? We're a
Yeah.
team. So when she wins, I win. When I win, she wins. So that's the way we look at it. We celebrate each other's success and we continue to do that. And it makes me happy. That to me is all the celebration that I need when I hit a milestone, and I'm happy with that. So I guess backing out to my initial response, I don't need to work on it 'cause I'm happy. Like when I think about people celebrating their success when they hit their big GCI goals, some people take trips, some people do these big extravagant things. That's not who I am. I am happy with the with what we do. That's my thing. I just go out for a nice dinner to celebrate. That's it, and I'm happy with that. So I don't need to change. I love what I do.
No, that's good. I'm glad that you came to that realization. It's awesome. Now, we know that planning ahead is really, really crucial, especially in our very fast-paced, changing world. So, what type of strategies do you use for both your personal and your professional career goals? And how do they really kind of bring in the success for your real estate together into one?
Yeah, I've actually got two cool ones for this. So one is business planning, like I referenced earlier on. Big business planning is big for me. So every year at around October, November of the previous year, I lay out my following year so I can start to do the work because as we know in real estate, the work we do, it comes back to us in 60 to 90 days.
Yeah.
So I business plan 60 to 90 days prior to the start of the year so I can hit the ground running and start to front load my year. So that's one thing I do to plan ahead for business wise. But the biggest kind of aha moment that I've had throughout my career so far is time blocking. I know time blocking, it's a big scary word that a lot of people don't like to hear. And I do it a little differently because I'm one that I don't like I mentioned earlier, I like to have different days. I like to be flexible in my days. That's where I find my happiness. So I time block a little different than most. And I think some of your listeners might actually relate to this and they might want to start trying this out. So what I do, I live my life off of my Google Calendar. From waking up, going to the gym, to appointments, to lead generation, to personal time, every moment of my day is time blocked in my calendar. But the part that I do differently is that my time blocks to me, the block itself is non-negotiable, but where it lies on my calendar, that's negotiable. So for instance, I mean, if I have an appointment come up and I need to run out of town for a showing at the end of my lead generation, I will take a portion of my lead generation block and move it to another time throughout the day to add that appointment into my calendar. So when people talk about squeezing you in between appointments and things like that, that's what I do with everything. I move around those blocks on my calendar and it allows me to still do everything that I need to do every day. But it also allows me to block out that personal time. I block in these 1 or 2 nights a week that I'm not at showings. I'm not going out and running all over town. I'm spending time at home with my loved ones. So I time block again a little differently, but time blocking was my biggest thing that has allowed me to plan and find my success through planning.
I think that's really smart. And I love that you mentioned time blocking because it's something that I really encourage my clients to do. So, time blocking doesn't have to be stringent, like you said. I look at time
Yes.
blocking as 90-minute increments. So, some brain theory is that our brains become depleted after a 90-minute cycle. So, focusing on some type of specific activity, it begins to become depleted because it gets tired. So, like if you're doing administrative work, after about 90 minutes of administrative work, you really should switch the type of task you're doing regardless, because then your administrative side of your brain can relax a little bit and regenerate, where maybe you're now focusing on something that's creative or activity based. And then even within those 90-minute blocks, breaking them into 20-minute increments, because our attention spans only really last about 20 minutes before we want to check our phone, before, something else comes into our purview. Breaking it into 20-minute increments where every 20 minutes you take like a minute to have like a sip of your drink or to stand up and stretch or something that will only take 1 to 3 minutes. When you follow those types of strategies, 90-minute cycle, 20-minute increments within that 90-minute cycle, your productivity increases in a compounding way. Now, going back to what you said, when you have something that comes up and you're fitting in between and you're moving some things, while you're moving them, they're still non-negotiable. So if you were to say spend 90 minutes on lead gen and you've got an appointment that needs to be right in the center of it, so you only get 30 to 45 minutes on the first half, then you make sure that you still do it later on in the day for the second half. I think that that's really important because having it as a non-negotiable time block, that helps you work towards those goals and that success. It's so easy to be like, oh, I can only do this for a half hour today because I have to go and do something else. Well, you have to make that time up. Otherwise, you're losing that momentum, right? So I think it's really cool that
Exactly.
you do the time blocking and the way that you
Yeah,
do
and
it.
I've actually one thing that I've found great success with in that is my home screen. I've got just like a lot of people, I've got multiple monitors in my
Mhm.
workstation at my desk. So my big monitors, my background is my vision board. So
I
whenever I'm having those moments where I'm wandering, where I'm starting to get off task, or I'm thinking around lead generation, just no matter what everyone says, I mean, I'm a big dialer. I spend a minimum of 10 hours a week dialing. I host live dial sessions. I teach other people how to dial. So I do a lot of that work. I've been doing it for 6 years now, but I still don't love lead generation. But what I
Mhm.
love is seeing my big why, seeing my goals in front of me, and knowing that the work I'm putting in right now will get me there. Right.
Yeah.
So when I'm getting off track, I see on my screen the reason why I'm doing it, and that
Yeah.
gets me right back on track very quickly.
So many of us are visually motivated people, so having that visually ready for you and available to you, I imagine that literally, if you were to fast forward 10 years from now and you look back at that vision board, you'll probably accomplish 90% to 100% of everything that's on there to some degree. I remember I was working with someone a long time ago and they did a vision board. And a while later, a number of years later, we reconnected, and they're like, "Would you believe that I had this vehicle, this specific vehicle, and I liked the vehicle, but it wasn't like my dream vehicle. I just really liked the look of it, and it represented a luxury vehicle." They're like, "I had that specific vehicle on my vision board. Number of years later, I bought that exact vehicle, just that year's model, the new model. And I didn't even really think about it until I randomly was cleaning my office and I pulled out my vision board and I saw my vehicle on that vision board. And I almost had a heart attack because I literally manifested it. And it was years later. Like, again, it was years in between the vision board. There have been other vision boards in between, and they literally manifested it. So I am very curious. 10 years from now, we are going to do a call. We're going to see each other however we do it. And I want to know what from the vision board has actually transpired because I
It's
guarantee.
funny. It's funny you mentioned that because I actually have a very similar story to your client there. I
Oh, yeah.
mean, I've been doing vision boards for probably 5 years now.
Mhm.
And I have one thing specifically that I always laugh at and remember. I like my vision board to be, yes, I have some more long-term goals on my vision board, but I also have goals for that year on my vision board. So my income goals, my goals for deals. And one thing I had back probably around the time I met you, in Gary Vee's office, we had a whiteboard on the wall with our vision board. And when we were doing those vision boards,
Love it.
we took yeah, so we took newspaper and magazines and stuff, and we cut out pictures of what we wanted to achieve. So we weren't going on Google and printing these out. These were physical stuff that we found in magazines that we wanted and we aligned ourselves with. And one goal that I had was to get my motorcycle license because it was something me and my dad were both passionate about. So I
Mhm.
had this white sport bike with a red frame on my vision board way back when. And fast forward to maybe 2 years after that point, I've always loved white motorcycles, but white motorcycles are generally super sports. And when you get your license, it's not generally something you can get into without paying 40 grand a year in insurance.
Yeah.
I ended up finding this one bike. It was a special edition year that they had a white bike with a red frame. And I bought it because I liked the looks of it. And it took me another year or two. I still have the bike now, but it took me another year or two to find that vision board and realize that, like your client recollected, I manifested that success and it came to me without even me thinking about it. So really
Oh, I
cool.
love that. I love that. That's amazing. That right there, proof in the pudding, right? The ways that our
Yeah.
brains work to bring forward the reality that we want. So that's so cool. I love it. Now, with you in your business and how you've created things from your vision board to actually bringing it into reality, it's a lot of value that you have to bring, like your internal value system. So how do you use your values to guide your work, and how do they contribute, or how have they contributed to your success as far as you've come?
Yeah, another great question. Um, for me, two of my biggest values are honesty and integrity. Um, my one thing that I express with my clients is that I'm always going to be 100% straight with them, whether they like it or not. I don't fluff things. I am honest and I tell them exactly what's going on. If we don't have great feedback on the showings, I tell them that. If we feel they're overpriced, unfortunately, we're going to have that conversation. I find too many agents in this industry, they fluff up their numbers or they fluff up their responses to their clients.
Yeah.
So the clients are hearing things that you think they want to hear. And generally, in my experience, the clients that I work with, they would see right through it.
Yeah.
So for me, everything I do in the business comes back to honesty and integrity and treating others the way I would want to be treated. And that's to just be fully transparent in everything we're doing so that they understand exactly what's going on.
I think that's really important. And one of the things I want to touch upon too is you are absolutely correct. A lot of agents mistakenly are people pleasing their clients instead of having the
Yes.
authentic relationships with them. What I know in my experience of all of my coaching and working with clients is that it is our job to be authentic and to deliver the right and accurate information to whoever is we're working with. If agents would adjust the people pleasing behavior to instead address those hard conversations in a thoughtful and meaningful approach, the outcome is actually the outcome that they always desired. Like when you have a client and you have to tell them, well, the price that you want to list at really is not the price that the market will absorb right now. You can have a conversation with them. If you're especially using NLP techniques, you can have a conversation with them where you're able to explain that to them. And yes, of course, everyone wants to get as much money for their house as they can possibly, or they want to get the best deal when buying a house as possible. But when you explain it to them and you have their trust and you're coming forward authentically, they believe what you're saying and they'll go with you. And then it becomes the successful outcome that you both want, anyways. So I think it's really important that you lead with the authenticity that you do.
Absolutely.
Now, you have a lot of experience, like we've already said. So, drawing from your experience, I want to know, what are some common misunderstandings that people have about real estate, and how do you address them to ensure that your clients are ultimately satisfied with you?
Wow, yeah, I mean, there are a ton of misconceptions, especially right now in our industry. I mean,
Mhm.
off the top of my head, a couple common things that we see are like how deposits work, deposits versus down payment, how
Yeah.
buyer agents are paid in the transaction, really what we do and our value we provide to the transaction beyond opening doors. For me, how I address these and ensure client satisfaction, it all comes back to education. It all
Mhm.
comes back to being honest with your clients and explaining every aspect of the transaction, taking that time to go through with them. I love teaching my clients. I teach them every aspect of the deal. As part of what we do in our industry is we need to educate. So I take the time to explain everything with my clients. If they want to go no detail, like we go as deep as they want. I am there with them until all their questions are answered. And I always express that there are no bad questions. A lot of first time buyers, they come to me and they feel like they should know what they're doing. And the reality is it's their first time doing it. They don't
Yeah.
need to know. That's our job, is to educate them. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of misunderstandings, a lot of confusion, but I find a lot of the misunderstandings, they all come back to education and people having just not the right education around what we do and the value we provide. So again, everything I do, it comes back to full transparency and just taking that extra time to explain everything with your clients.
I think that that's really important because ultimately, the biggest job that I think really anyone who is an entrepreneur has is to educate their clients. our jobs are to educate, inform, and really, when it comes to the relationship, to have some type of engagement with the relationship. So with real estate, a big part of it is providing, the technical expertise, but also balancing the personalized service. So speaking to everything that we were kind of just building off of, how do you balance these aspects to ensure that you are providing the exceptional service for your clientele?
Yeah, so for me, this is a challenge that a lot of agents face, and this is one of the reasons why I choose to be on a real estate team, because I completely agree. One of the biggest and best things in this industry you can provide is personalized white glove service to your clients.
Mhm.
Service is critical to an amazing client experience. And when you start to grow your business, when you start to do more deals, when you start to consistently be more busy, it becomes harder and harder to provide that personalized white glove experience. It becomes harder to provide the service that your clients deserve. So this is where you
Mhm.
need to either join a real estate team where they can help you with some of the clerical work so you can just provide that white glove service, where you need to start hiring others. I mean, in our situation, we're blessed to have amazing admin staff, office
Yeah.
management, deal administrators, and they allow me to leverage my time through them and provide the technical expertise and personalized service that every single one of my clients deserve. So it really comes back to managing your time and learning to delegate to others, or figuring out how you can leverage and grow.
Yeah. Yeah, it is smart. And I completely understand all of the benefits because with you being on the Jennifer Jones team, it's a well-oiled machine. And you really do. Like
Yes.
I see oftentimes the testimonials from your clientele, and it is really above and beyond service that you provide to them. So I think that that's really smart that you've recognized that that's where the power is having that team. And also, one of the biggest hurdles that agents fall into is not hiring when they need to hire. Not expanding their
Yes.
team, not having the administrative staff that they need. And it's very difficult to break through to the next level of success if you are not expanding the team for your support. So it's all about leveraging, right? And doing what you're best at. That's a path to success. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
like I know my skill set, my what's amazing about me and what I'm good at in this career is help that educating clients, like I was saying, negotiating contracts, showing homes and pointing out deficiencies and things that we need to like. Those are what I'm good at. That is how I have found my success. So I need to make sure that I am spending my time on where my success is coming from. And my success is coming from those face to face, those belly to belly appointments. So that's where I realized very quickly that leveraging my time is critical, and being on a team that can allow me to leverage my time, that is what has really jump started my success.
Cool. Now, lessons, I think, are taught to us on a daily basis, but sometimes it's a big experience that really teaches us a valuable lesson, good or bad. So, what is something that a memorable experience that's taken place in your career that really taught you a valuable lesson?
So there's the one which I reflected on earlier, which was the four
Mhm.
deals falling apart before noon. That was a great learning experience.
Mhm.
But my favorite that I like to reflect on, and I've mentioned this in some of the trainings that I've done before. When I started out my career, again, I was a 19-year-old kid driving my dad's white Chevy Express Workman to showings. And what I quickly realized is that if I show up with confidence and value, no one says a thing. Early on, I had clients that I met them through a online lead generation site. So I did not have time to build that rapport and show my real expertise through the phone. I had to get them out to an appointment. So I got them out to an appointment. The first day we went out, we saw two homes. I was driving that Chevy Express work van. And this was back in probably early 2017. This was the first day I took them out. I showed value. I showed up with confidence driving that van, and they ended up buying that house with me. It was a $1.3 million transaction in 2017. And I mean,
Wow.
it's reflecting on it now, it doesn't sound like a lot, but back in 2017 in our area, that was an awesome house just outside of Uxbridge on over 100 acres.
Yeah.
I showed up, I showed my value, and the biggest thing it taught me is that looks and appearance, they really aren't everything in this industry. Yes, they're important, but some people think you need to find success in this business, you need to go out and buy a new fancy car. And honestly, I disagree. I sold more out of that white Chevy Express work van than most people do in those fancy new BMWs. I mean, I do think it is important to show up professionally turned out, to show your value and be in a clean car. Of course, it shows your professionality, but just know if you're getting started in this industry, contrary to popular belief, it's not everything. You show your value as a person, and your clients will see it.
100%. And actually, I just wanted to go back to the value of that house for anyone who's listening right now. Back then, that $1.3 million home, that's got to be worth in today's value, probably like 2.3 million or so. Like you obviously know best, but it's a lot. Like especially as a green agent, a newer agent, that's a really big win. So congratulations on that. That's amazing. And you are so right. Showing up with confidence. You know, there's the saying that confidence is half the battle. Like showing up like that and showing people that actually convinces them that no matter what the appearance is, because maybe the truck is your other like your passion job or your passion truck. You love that truck and it's part of you and that's why you drive it. There's so many different reasons why people show up the way that they do. It's important to be professional, obviously. That's something that we absolutely encourage. But it also doesn't necessarily matter if you're wearing fancy high-end clothing or if you're just wearing something that fits well and looks good. If you're driving a high-end vehicle or if you're driving a vehicle that looks good enough. Like that stuff is not the primary factor why people work with you. It's the information, the education, the presence that you put forward. That's what people actually are buying when they're working with you. So I think that that's really smart that you recognize that so young in your career too.
Thank you.
So as an established real estate agent, we know that staying up to date with trends, regulations, and technological advancements is key. I know how much time and effort you are currently investing into staying up to date with artificial intelligence. So how do you stay updated? What is it that you do to make sure that you're bringing that type of value to your clients as well? Because that's ultimately what it all boils down to is your clients.
Yeah, I mean, this one is ever changing for me. So, one thing that I've focused on since day one is networking with others.
Yeah.
We joined EXP Realty about 4 or so years ago now, and one thing I'm so thankful for with our brokerage is that everyone is so open to sharing. There's always an education out there. And I know if I see another EXP agent having great success somewhere, I can call them up. And generally speaking, I have not had one single instance where I've called up another agent within our brokerage and asked them what they're doing or how they're doing it, and they've not been willing to share. Every single person has been open to share. So one thing for me has been just networking with others and asking the questions, and through our brokerage that allows me to do that worldwide. But another thing that I've really learned more within the last year is that going to those big events, that's where you learn a lot. Going to the big KW family reunion, EXP Con, the big Remax and Century 21 conferences, going to your brokerage's big national conferences and attending those breakout sessions, making notes, that's where you truly learn how everything, like you learn from the most successful people in your industry and learn all the little tips and tricks. You come home and implement them. So going to those big events, I just started going to them about a year ago. I've now trained at EXPCon, and I've grown a passion for them, and I see the value that a lot of other people mention through these big events now because I've learned so much, and they have allowed me to learn more and implement faster.
Yeah. I think that's also something that I really appreciated about your career over the last little while is how much you do give back to the industry as well, because you do a lot of education through both your own team and as well as inviting out people, other real estate agents, whether they're with EXP or they're from external brokerages. You do a lot of education out there, and it's really nice that you go forward with that sharing mentality, because I think when people are collaborative and when you have that open communication, it really just builds the industry in a positive way. So I think it's really wonderful that you do that and that you've taken such a passion in doing that. It's great.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have the misconception that they need to withhold information to get business. I
Mm-hmm.
am a person that if any listeners are hearing this, if you have questions on anything I'm sharing, reach out to me. I am an open book. I will share everything with you. I don't care. There's enough business to go around for all of us out there that I don't feel that I need to withhold certain tips and tricks to better myself. I believe that you come from contribution, you share with others, and you're open and honest with yourself and others about who you are, what you do. And again, it comes back to what I was talking about earlier. What you put out to the universe comes back to you. And I know when I was early on in my career, there were a lot of helping hands that showed me the path, that taught me the tools that I needed to find my success. So now that I have, I guess, found some of my success, I am very, very happy to give back to others and lend that helping hand on to the next generation of agents.
That's probably what makes you so awesome. Now,
Thank you.
effective communication, because this is all about communication, right? Like the way that you educate and teach fellow real estate agents, the way that you work with your clients. Effective communication is just, it's paramount in everything that we do. It's crucial, especially in real estate. I have seen agents lose deals because of poor communication tactics. And really that's the foundation of neurolinguistic programming, is communication. So how do you maintain effective communication and have transparency and clarity in all of your interactions with your clients, and I suppose with the other real estate agents that you're working with throughout each of your transactions?
So I think that comes back to what I was answering earlier about my core values and what I do with clients. Honesty is one of my core values, and this has really never been an issue for me. Yes, effective communication is honestly probably the most important part of a transaction. Um, but as I mentioned earlier, I'm always 100% straight with everybody. I warn my clients of that I don't fluff things and I'm honest with them, and generally they appreciate it. That's what some people are looking for.
Yeah.
Too many people, they fluff up their numbers and responses just to be, like you said, a yes man or woman, and just see people pleasing their clients. But like that's not what a lot of people are looking for.
No.
So I don't even think about it. I just communicate with my clients open and honestly. I make sure that I'm communicating immediately. So, for instance, after a showing, as soon as I get feedback, I don't wait until I do my weekly seller reports to let my clients know. I just text them. It's second nature at this point, just to be open and honest with my clients, and I don't need to think about it.
That's good. I really appreciate that with you. Now, with the industry, and as much as things are changing, regulations and all of that stuff, continuous learning is also really important when when you're growing your business and working towards new levels of success. So how do you prioritize? Because you mentioned how you've started going to all of these big conferences, you're participating that way, but for the other more nuanced things, how are you prioritizing your professional development, and how do you take the knowledge that you're learning and apply it to your practice?
Okay, so for me, it comes back again to time blocking. I evaluate a task's importance, and honestly, the prioritization of a task, it begins within. You're the person that you're going to say, I need to do this or I don't need to do this. And whatever answer you have there, that's what you're going to end up doing. So if it's something that I need to learn, like new regulatory information, updating my license, stuff like that, I decide that it's important to me and I time block it in my calendar. I make room for it in my calendar. And once it's in my calendar, I know internally I need to be honest and authentic with myself and honor that block. I need to get it done when it's in my calendar. So that's kind of what I do for prioritizing. As for implementation, I'm a person where it's all about speed. One book I read early on in my career was Go for No, and it was transformative for me. It taught me that no's are actually a good thing. And the best thing you can do is speed up the process to get those no's. So you get a yes faster. The no's that you get are one no closer to a yes. So that's how I view things with implementation. Once I've completed my research and decided this is something that I need or want to implement in my business, I time block it in my calendar to make sure I have the time to build it into my business and then implement it, try it out. And just like you would in management, I hire slow and fire fast. So I take my time doing my homework. I take my time in the education process and make sure it's something that I want to start doing or implementing in my business. I then try it. I implement it into my business. I give it a set timeline. And if it's not working out by the end of timeline, I figure it out it's not working and I get rid of it and move on to the next thing. So for me, it's about learning all these new things, blocking out the time to learn them and decide if it's something that I want to implement, implementing fast, implementing slow, and then getting rid of them fast if it's not working out so I can work on what is truly working and building my business.
I love that too, because oftentimes I hear of agents that are so painfully slow to adapt something. And then because they were slow to adapt something, they just hang on to it and it's not working and yet they keep it. And it's like, get rid of it. Like that's taking your mental capacity. Like get rid of it and you'll be free and you'll be able to move on to the next thing. I love the idea of collecting no's. One of my personal like ick factors is if somebody won't give me a direct no, I almost feel the need to push them into just say no, like just tell me no so we can both move on kind of thing. I obviously don't handle it like that, but our jobs are to collect no's because the more no's that we collect, the closer we get to the yes. And that's true for any type of sales in general. So I love that you have a proficient way of dealing with things, thoughtfully, hiring slow, focused, knowing what you want, making sure that they fit it. And then if it doesn't work, get rid of it quick, because the longer that it lingers, the more mental capacity it takes. Because, I mean, think about it. Whenever something's not going right, don't you kind of get obsessive about it? And you're like, oh, the faster you can get that off your plate, the more that you have capacity to bring on the next great thing. And sometimes that's the better thing behind it anyways. So
Exactly. And I think that mindset of chasing the no's is huge for me in everything that I do. I don't get saddened or upset by the no's now. I get excited almost, as weird as that sounds. But no's in my eyes are almost a good thing because I'm one step closer to that yes that I'm chasing.
oh yeah, no, I absolutely get it. Like I said, I get almost frustrated when somebody is pussyfooting around the no, like give it to me straight, I can take it kind of thing. So
Exactly.
I really do love that about you, Jake. Okay,
Thank
so
you.
as we're coming to the end of today's chat, which I absolutely loved and appreciate, I want to give the floor to you again and ask if there's any messages or wisdom that you'd like to share with our audience today, whether they be budding real estate agents or entrepreneurs or people who might be even looking to work directly with you. Please.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm just going to take the moment to share what I would have wanted to hear when I was starting in this industry. So, anybody listening to this, just keep going, keep moving forward, and focus on your goals. What you focus on, that's what expands. And I mean, if you listen to my story, I was a 19-year-old kid with no sales background, fresh out of high school, and I looked like a 19-year-old kid. I didn't look old for my age. I was driving my dad's white work van to showings, and I still found my success through my grit, through my just my mindset of chasing success. I found it. So if I can find success in the industry, you definitely can. Never stop growing and never judge a book by its cover. That's what I would have wanted to hear when I started in this industry. So I hope that some of you can relate to that and puts a smile on your face.
It definitely put a smile on mine. So, Jake, for all of our listeners, anyone who is looking to listen in to any of Jake's educational content, anyone who is potentially looking to work directly with Jake, or anyone who just liked Jake and wants to follow his social medias, how can people find you?
Yeah, so Facebook is just Jake Jordan, the Jennifer Jones Team Real Estate. That's my Facebook page. Instagram is where I predominantly post a lot of my content as Homes by Jake. Those are my two main things. I'm not a coach. I'm just a real estate agent. I'm good at what I do. I focus on selling my clients' homes, and I'm happy to share with others. So if you're getting into real estate, if you're an experienced agent, you want some of my information, if you're just new to entrepreneurship and you're a young guy that's trying to chase success, reach out to me. I am happy to chat with you. I'm happy to share everything that I've learned throughout my journey so that you can find your success too.
Oh, thank you so much, Jake. It was an absolute pleasure to get to chat with you today. Thank you so much for taking the time with me. And I look forward to continuing to watch you grow and succeed in all of your endeavors. So thank you again. And honestly, I'm so happy with how you've done and everything that you're going to achieve. I look forward to seeing.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me. This is an honor. I'm so happy to be here and just share a little of my knowledge with some of your audience.
Thank you. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in and looking forward to seeing you on the next episode.